Hey guys, Boy here, and this is how Matumbaman fights with Morphling. Two quick announcement guys. The first one is, I am very sorry for the audio quality for the past videos. I know most people don't care and they just want high quality Dota content, and I completely understand that. Let me try to explain though. I moved back to my college and this is a fairly small city. Also, I went to a pretty much isolated part of the town, so to me, there was no way soundproofing train that randomly starts chewing, just very annoying to deal with. I will move houses again in 2 months because I signed a contract stating I will stay here until January for the sake of just getting the quality up, and I hope the content of the videos can make up for it. Also, the Arcana suggestions are over. Very strong teamfight asset, especially against Radiant's heroes, Terrorblade and edgy heroes in general. Check how much work that Juggernaut illusion makes. Most players would retreat by now, but he knows that he has the TPs from the Jugger illusion and the full duration stun, but most importantly, he has a lot of mana. Pay attention to the illusion after killing Jugger. He kinda were there and there's no backdoor protection, he can go back. Also, as he heals, pay attention to how he waits to heal to full HP before morphing back. You will take way more time if you try to morph as you regen. By the way, I was joking, what actually happens is a little bit disappointing. He takes his illusion out of the Dire base because Legion respawns, and do you is in? I can think of only 2 options. He wanted to dodge Sven's Stormbolt and maybe kill him and go back to the replicate, but he had no mana, or he was playing dumb, trying to force him to use ult. He does force Sven's ult later, but it ends up being way closer than he wanted. Morphling is a beast when he has Ethereal Blade, and because of that a lot of players focus too much in farming and forget how strong Morphling is in the mid game. He doesn't have a lot of burst by himself, but usually you can get kills in two different ways. Both of them begin with starting fights that doesn't seem good on paper, baiting reactions from the enemy team, and then follow up with your team's reactions while you tank most of the damage. And this is where Morphling shines. He creates a replicate that he sends to the top lane. The standard player will try to use the Aegis timing to split push top and commit instantly, but Sven didn't commit his ult, Sand King also did not, so as they retreat, check how he completely out of the blue commits in again. When he goes for this play, Sven is forced to ult, his Larder is already deep in the fight, and now he can split push. Well, he actually ends up backing. Two of his teammates die and he was really low on mana, so he would have a hard time morphing. Not only that, he has no replicate, so running away is more complicated. This clip hides some gems, and this is the type of detail that can make you a better morph player. He gets the DD rune and spots Leshrac. After getting Eagle Song, he hits like a truck. With DD, he is even more of a monster. If we go slow motion, we can see a damage instance while he waveforms, indicating that he right-clicked Tiny as he was going in. They explode Tiny, and when Slardar shows up, pay attention to his mouse. He was already hovering that area to waveform and dodge Littering Crush, and they obliterate the poor fishman. Io relocates Morph back as Sven initiates, but his entire team dies. There's At the same time, Juggernaut doesn't have buyback. This is the type of situation where trying to trade your buildings for farm or pressure in the map is not going to happen. The lanes are not pushed enough, and this move dissuades Dire to keep on going, saving Radiant from a catastrophic situation where they end up trying to fight against Epicenter and Aegis without having buyback on Juggernaut. This is another clip showing how confident Matumba is. With that close to Roshan Observer, he can see that Dire is treading towards his direction, and what would most players do? They would go immediately top, or they would hide for a second and then go top. But split pushing is not only about forcing the enemies to one side of the map, it's about forcing cooldowns and forcing them as much as you possibly can. Also, chasing Morphling like that completely destroys Dire's chances of using Aegis. In the end though, Juggernaut gets clipped by Sven's ult in a completely different engagement. Most players would be flaming Juggernaut or just grieving, but everything in Dota is a trade. Yeah, Sven killed Juggernaut, but he committed BKB and got strength for that. Check how Matumbaman knows that, and instead of committing on the lasso target, he explodes Sven right away, while at the same time dealing tons of damage with waveform on the Dire team. And with this Blink Dagger build on Morphling, you are even more safe when you need to disengage with Since he gets afraid after taking Io down, he can easily destroy Lash as well. It was actually a pretty bad move by Lash. Not only the barracks had backdoor protection, he didn't have buyback, so standing there gives Matumbaman another kill. But unfortunately Jugger was pretty tilted this game. The creep wave was coming in, and yeah, if you kill Tiny, and his BKB charges are getting lower and lower. This game is pretty crazy. Dyer ends up forcing Matumba's buybacks, but they don't get anything meaningful in return, so the game kinda slows down a bit. As he was split pushing the bot lane, Lashrak shows up, and I feel like he didn't expect the Lash to be that tanky. He actually has Glimmer and Cheese, and he gets ambushed and killed again. Usually this would be a pretty easy and fast knife, but since he didn't replicate back as soon as he saw that he couldn't kill Lash, he ends up dying. They go for another push top, this time with his team behind him and smoked. As he approaches the tier 3, he learned his lesson. He sends the Manta illusions in front to get vision and studies the situation. Tiny ends up becoming a butterfly before dying. As I talked a lot during this video, even though Matumba is dying several times, Svenny is always forced to commit God Strength for it, so the pickoffs are not as huge as they could be. He is forced to buy back and Dyer gets Aegis for it.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
As he goes top, Dyer is bottom pushing, and this time he has a cool idea. He scans the Dyer top tower before going in and spots someone. At the same time, Batrider lassos Lash and he is able to go back, securing them the kill. The strength of Morph, besides exploding heroes and soaking damage, a lot of strength. So how does he win this game, you might be wondering? Against all odds, no buyback on him, Aegis on the Dyer team. It all starts with him split pushing and getting kills like the one we saw before, since as the game goes on, the respawn timer increases and every pickoff and Dyer decides to fight outside their base, which is a great idea by the way. He forces Tiny to use Silver Edge, and what Tiny wanted is applying the Silver Edge debuff, but it doesn't work on BKB, and Matumba powers through all of them. The butterfly choice was perfect, so this was the first step. They win a team fight, force buybacks, and now they have the advantage. As he regens and TPs top, check how he's full on edge again. Since Sven is dead, he feels more confident, but Dire is so farmed that he can't explode Lash with the Ethereal combo. His team reaches the fight, and they secure Sand King. Morphling is great at baiting spells, so when Tiny tries to explode the Replicate, Matumba feels confident jumping in. He forces Tiny BKB, explodes Slardar, and the Butterfly was definitely what he needed to win this game.
The impure fire. Face your react.
In this game they're against an offlane Legion. He tried to harass Legion a little bit, but Legion can actually trade decently against Morphling, since she has so much move speed and Morphling has so little attack range. Matumbaman never committed too hard because of that, and rightly so. Rubik is not the strongest support in getting early kills, but as soon as he gets level 3, check how his posture changes. As he right-clicks his Legion, you need to understand that he doesn't panic. Be able to waveform and block Pudge for the stun, but since he knew from the minimap that Tiny was rotating, he was fine. This clip shows an aspect of Morphling that a lot of players don't really pay attention to. Morphling has very bad move speed, so as they go on Legion, check how he doesn't bother to attack move on Legion, and rather just tries his best to keep chasing to be able to reach Legion. How he kinda throws the illusion at them, forcing them to try to take it down, buying a little bit of time for Tiny and Rubik. That also buys time for Sand King's Epicenter, but even though they took Warlock before he ulted, Magnus lands a beautiful RP. One thing to note is how he doesn't morph everything to strength right away. He morphs as he takes damage, and learning how much and when you need to morph takes time and practice. Kinda like playing Storm Spirit. Now that Morphling saw more playing competitive games, I feel like mid-tier players have a better understanding of how Morphling works. But it's not uncommon to find players that feel like the hero can't get solo kills before Ethereal Blade, and they play very passively the entire game. While Morphling is actually Venge gets picked off by Duo and Juggernaut dies, so it's very unlikely that he dies going for this gank, even if the enemy team counter-initiates. When he jumps with Waveform, if you slow motion this, you can see the damage from one attack instance. Pretty much like Storm, you can attack while in this invulnerable form, and it's always good to abuse this. As your attack speed increases, and it will increase since you're playing Morph, you can deal 2 or even 3 attacks while waveforming. One thing that Matumba does here that I really like and recommend to everyone out there is always using your item timings correctly. As with Blink, in a lot of heroes, not only the surprise of using an item before anyone notices it is important, but using it as soon as you get it. If you but the important thing to focus here is that they have the numbers advantage. So even by wasting Ethereal Blade, he's actually setting up a good fight for his team. Unless everyone misplays very hard, they will win. Morphling can soak all the damage, and then Sand King and Tiny can kill people after our burst, be it draft-wise or situation-wise like this one. It really doesn't matter if he wastes his Ethereal combo as long as his team is there with him and there are 2 missing players in the enemy team.